All right, everybody, welcome back. So today we're going on a deep dive into some pretty crazy court cases, all right?
Oh, yeah.
We're talking lawsuits that sound like, honestly, like the plot of a sitcom.
Mm-hmm.
And to navigate this legal labyrinth, we've got this great video titled "5 Crazy Court Cases That Made Legal History."
Okay.
So get this right. We got people suing God, themselves. We've even got a bank robber who walks away with a payout.
Oh, come on.
Yeah. So are you ready to sort of unpack these unbelievable situations?
Absolutely. I mean, these cases might seem like legal shenanigans, but they actually offer a really interesting perspective, I think, on the U.S. legal system. Like warts and all, the good, the bad, the ugly.
Yeah, yeah. So let's jump right in.
Yeah.
Okay. First up, all right.
Yeah.
Suing God.
Yeah.
How does that even work?
Right.
I mean, like, do you file a complaint at the pearly gates?
Yeah.
Like, what's the legal strategy there?
I mean, yeah, serving papers on the Almighty, that's a tough one.
Yeah.
But, I think if we look past, like, the initial absurdity of it all, right?
Yeah.
This case, it might actually be an example of what we call symbolic speech.
Oh, okay.
Right. Using a lawsuit to kind of, to make a statement rather than, like, actually trying to win damages.
Ah, okay.
And think about it. Remember the whole act of God defense?
Right.
That's used a lot in cases involving natural disasters.
Sure.
Perhaps this lawsuit, it was like maybe a way to challenge that whole nation, right?
Ah, okay.
To kind of spark a conversation about responsibility, when something tragic happens.
So it's less about winning and more about kind of making a point.
Yeah, exactly.
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
Speaking of unusual legal tactics,
Okay.
all right, our next case involves a woman suing herself.
Herself, huh?
Yeah.
Oh.
So is this like a loophole?
Mm-hmm.
Is this a cry for attention? Or is there something else entirely going on?
It's hard to say for sure without all the details, but I mean, think about it this way, right? Suing yourself could be like a way to sort of challenge the legal system itself.
Yeah.
For example, she might be like highlighting flaws in insurance policies, or maybe she's just pointing out the absurdity of legal technicalities,
Oh.
And remember that case of Red Bull, right?
Oh, yeah.
They claim to give you wings.
Yeah, Red Bull gives you wings.
Obviously no one actually sprouted wings.
Oh, no.
But that lawsuit, it forced a conversation about misleading advertising.
Right.
Maybe the self-suing case, maybe it was aiming for something similar.
That makes a lot of sense. It's like using the law to hold up a mirror to itself.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, so now we're getting into truly strange territory here, right?
Okay.
So a psychic sues for losing her powers. How do you even prove that in court?
That is a great question.
Yeah.
I mean, imagine trying to quantify the loss of something that's intangible,
Right.
like psychic ability. It'd be like trying to measure a dream.
Yeah.
This is where legal precedent and expert testimony, that's where they come in.
Okay.
So the plaintiff might call on like other psychics or parapsychologists, right?
Sure.
To kind of testify about the legitimacy of her powers,
Right.
the impact of their loss.
Yeah, okay.
But convincing a judge and jury, that's a whole different challenge.
Yeah, I bet.
Remember, the burden of proof, it always lies with the plaintiff.
Right.
And in this case, that burden is extremely heavy.
Yeah, I can only imagine the skeptical looks in that courtroom.
Yeah.
Shifting gears a little bit, let's talk about a case that's almost become an urban legend, right?
Okay.
The guy who sued Pepsi because they wouldn't give him the fighter jet that was promised in their commercial.
Oh, yeah.
You remember that one?
Yeah, absolutely.
That one's pretty wild.
It's a classic example of the line between marketing hype and legal obligation.
Right.
So Pepsi used what's called puffery.
Puffery.
Yeah. It's a legal term. It's for these exaggerated claims that no reasonable person would take literally.
Okay.
Think about like slogans like the best burger in the world.
Right.
It's obviously subjective. It's not meant to be like a factual statement.
Yeah.
So the court likely saw the Pepsi commercial in that same light, right?
Mm-hmm.
Ruled that no one could reasonably expect like a multi-million-dollar fighter jet,
Right.
in exchange for a few Pepsi points.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Okay.
It's a good reminder to read the fine print, even on your soda bottles.
Yeah, absolutely.
And finally, we come to the most I think, the most unbelievable case of all.
Okay.
A robber who sued the bank he tried to rob
Uh-huh.
and won.
And he won.
How is that even possible?
Oh, man. So this case, likely, it kind of boils down to this concept of negligence,
Okay.
right? So if the robber could prove that the bank had, woefully inadequate security,
Right.
like maybe broken locks, no guards, a giant "rob me" sign out front,
Sure, yeah.
then he could argue, that the bank was partly responsible for the crime.
Mm-hmm.
There's a famous case involving a woman who sued McDonald's after spilling hot coffee on herself.
Oh, yeah.
It wasn't just about the coffee. It was about McDonald's knowingly serving it at a dangerously high temperature.
Right.
So similarly, the robber's case, it might have hinged on proving the bank's negligence.
So even in the craziest court cases, there's a legal logic at play. It's
Exactly.
like a legal puzzle box.
Yeah.
For every absurd situation, there's this potential legal explanation.
Yeah, and what's so thought-provoking about these cases, I think, is they make you wonder, are they examples of like a flawed system that needs to be tightened up? Or do they actually showcase the flexibility of the law,
Yeah.
in dealing with truly unique situations?
That's the million-dollar question. And
Yeah.
it definitely leaves you with a lot to think about. And for all you legal eagles out there,
Yeah.
if you've encountered any of their head-scratching court cases, we want to hear about them.
Yeah.
After all, there's always more to explore
Absolutely.
in the strange and fascinating world of law.
Oh, yeah.
All right, that's it for this week's Deep Dive.
Great episode.
Thanks for joining us. We'll see you all next time.
See ya.